So I'm going to assume that you've either played the newest Call of Duty or you've heard about it. Black Ops Cold War got my attention as soon as the rumor that the franchise was gearing up to go back to Vietnam or to the Cold War was getting some traction. I was excited because the Cold War is one of my favorite time periods for weapon development, and if you're watching this video, you either want to learn about how to get a replica to show your love for one of your guns from this game, or you want to go the extra mile and play with one in what's roughly a real-life Call of Duty game. So let's run down every single weapon in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, from the pistols to the launchers, to see what you can get and what you'll have to continue fantasizing over. Not all the weapons truly have a real world or an airsoft counterpart, but we'll still do our best while learning a thing or two along the way. Just tell me in the comments if you're looking to get one of these just as a showpiece, something you put on the wall, or if you're planning to actually play with them, like how I did when I got a Galil because of the original Black Ops. I've got 4 replicas now, with 1 in transit and 1 real one, so I'd say that I'm addicted to that rifle. But alright, let's start off with the pistols. The first two being the Colt M1911 and the Diamatti, aka the Beretta M93 Replica. We've seen the M1911, the 1911, or the Colt M1911, which are all the same thing, and the Replica several times before in numerous Call of Duty titles. But this time around, it looks like the 1911 is a bit stronger and a lot more versatile thanks to the gunsmith options. Even without attachments, the M1911 is a sleeper weapon like how Drifter said. And that makes sense, since it's a 45 in real life. Yeah, the Black Ops 1 M1911 shouldn't have been a pea shooter. In the Airsoft world, the M1911 can be had in just about any variation. You can get different models, you can get all sorts of different color schemes, and prices vary from sub $100 to over $1,000 if you could believe that. It's just a matter of who you want to make yours. The 1911 is the most popular pistol platform in the game, right next to the High Kappa, and of course the Glock, so that would be the reason why. To get a replica to match the in-game model, you could go with the WE Tech Silver variant. That would run you anywhere from $80 to $130 brand new. Magazines are readily available, and they've been around for a long time on the market, so upgrade parts are everywhere. If you don't care about the silver look, then the Elite Force TAC is the most popular model, right next to Tokumarui offerings. Again, magazines can be had easily, and they're heavily supported in the market. As for the M93R, the Replica, you only have one real option, and that's the gas blowback model by KWA. These have been on the market for years now as a fun and slightly different pistol. The 3-round burst function comes standard, as well as a semi-auto and even a full auto function. You can also get a folding stock for the KWA, or you can ditch gas-powered guns and get the AEP by Tokumarui or even Maruzen. The Maruzen model being a little bit new to the airsoft market, so I don't know how easy or how difficult it would be to get one. I didn't forget about the Magnum though. Almost every COD has a standout, hyper-powerful 2-hit pistol, from the Desert Eagle to the Python from Black Ops 1, and for me, the Magnum resembles the Colt Python the most. Almost every weapon in Cold War is slightly altered from their real-world counterparts, like how some games do with vehicles, but this is a guess that I feel safe making. Unfortunately, this is one of the very few guns that you won't be able to find very easily. You only have the Cybergun and the very old and expensive Tanaka models to pick from. The Cybergun model isn't too expensive as a sub $100 revolver though. There's dozens of other revolvers you can get, like the ASG 715 Dan Wesson, so you have some other options out there. Just know that you'll get a little extra respect at the airsoft field if you show up rocking a revolver. Just make sure you're effective with it and try not to lose the shells. The submachine guns is where things start to get a bit tricky, since there's a lot of confusion in the COD community over what to call a few of these guns, but let me explain things as clearly as possible. This is the MP5. Not a surprise there. The Type 821 is actually a renamed Sokumi 821, and not an Uzi like so many people think. Everyone knows what the AKS-74U is, but it's not a submachine gun. It's a carbine, or a carbine, of the AK-74. This is like calling an AR-15/M4 a submachine gun because it's the smaller version of the M16. And this gun is an MP5, just with a lot of creative liberties over its design. When we try to look at what's available in the airsoft realm for the SMGs, we have to knock out the 821 and the KSP immediately, since they've never been replicated for the hobby. The 821 is a pretty uncommon firearm already, so I'm not surprised by this. And the KSP is imaginary, so there's that. The MP5 and the AKS, on the other hand, are both very common in Airsoft, and can be had in several quality tiers, from sub $200 SEMA models all the way to $400 plus gas blowbacks made from steel and high-strength polymer. SEMA, or CYMA, have made both of these. LCT makes a good AKS-74U, a very, very good-looking AKS-74U. WE Tech and GHK offer both of these as gas guns. You can get both of these with rails, with different stocks, you can get mags everywhere, and so on. So if the MP5 or the 74U is a must-have, then feel some comfort by knowing that they're available on just about every Airsoft retailer. The Bullfrog, known in the real world as the PP19 Bison or Bison, isn't as common or even as reputable since their magazines tend to suck. There's really no way around it. The Bison has always been an interesting but ugly duckling of all the AK variants in the world, but if you must get one, then hunt down a SEMA or an Echo 1. They're sub $200 guns, but where you save money, you'll be using it up finding reliable magazines and pouches for them. Changing mags quickly sucks too, because you'll have to insert the mag perfectly, or you'll either snap one of the hooks on the magazine or just mess up its alignment. I just don't like Bisons very much, I think that's clear. Just go with an LCT PP19 Vitnyaz. You'll be way happier if you do. On to the assault rifles category, and we have almost something for everyone. The XM4 and the AK-47 may be some of the easiest guns to get replicas of, but the Krig and the QBZ are going to take a little bit more hunting and some serious cash, while the Type 63 is another one of those guns that's absent from the Airsoft world. And the AUG and the FFAR-1 are more common to find. So let's start off with the XM4 that closely resembles the XM177E2. Also known by several other names like the Colt Commando, the XM4 has a few creative differences from the real article, the most notable of which being the flat top rail. None of the XM177s were ever issued, from my knowledge, with this body style, but I think this in-game model is just a bring back from Black Ops 1. To get one of these XM177 rifles, you'll have the classic army model to look to, like this one that you see here. Then there's the SEMA, the GMP, and even a gas blowback rifle by WE Tech to pick from. They're a bit uncommon in the Airsoft wild, but you should be able to snag one up if you really want one. And since they're a part of the most supported platform in the game, you'll never need to worry about making it last. Just watch my video over why the M4 is the best platform for beginners if you'd like to learn more about this. Getting the closest thing to the Krig 6, we have the G&G AK5 or the GF85GL, which of course replicates the Swedish AK5. That GL is important if you're looking up the Airsoft variant, by the way. The AK5 series is pretty uncommon in Airsoft, and I've only seen this particular rifle once. It's not difficult to buy one, but you'll pay somewhere in the mid 400s to pick one up. It's a lovely replica by G&G though, and since it takes standard M4 mags, you'll have that parts support that makes the M4 so great. Thinking about it, I should get one of these to partner up with my FNC, which the real AK5 was based on. I wish I could talk more about this rifle, but we need to move on to the AK-47. And there's no real need to explain what this rifle is. Let's just make this as short as possible. The AK platform can be had in almost every layout. You can get it as classic as possible or as modern as you'd like. Everything from 47s, RPKs, 74s, AK-12s, side folders, underfolders, and on and on. Airsoft has you covered, and if I tried to tell you who makes the AK, we would be here for hours. Just look into LCT and SEMA for the classic looks, Arcturus and G&G for the more creative models, and NPO, Real Sword, and GHK for the most luxurious rifles. If you really want an Airsoft AK, you'll get one. It won't be difficult. What will be difficult is finding anything to match the QBZ-83. No, it's not the FAMAS, but we have seen this rifle before in a much more realistic form in Modern Warfare 3 with the QBZ-95. This Chinese bullpup rifle is already difficult to obtain as a 95 or as a 5.56 QBZ-97 rifle, and in Airsoft, that's reflected. You want something like the QBZ-83? Well, here's your only option for now. This is the Type 97 by Real Sword. I made an entire review over this rifle and the smaller Type 97B, since these are the rarest M4 magazine accepting rifles in our game. Everything about these rifles is weird. The controls, the sights, the scarce attachments you can get for them. It's just a really weird rifle. If you want one of these, you're going to shell out some serious money because the owners of Type 97s aren't looking to sell them, or at least for anything less than $500 to $800 or even $1,000, since you can't really buy these new anywhere. You pay for a really high quality gun that was built so well that even the Chinese military obtained most of the real sword stock for their military training. But yeah, if you really want a 97 or a 97B, just know you'll have some hurdles to jump over to get one and to effectively use one on the field. The last two rifles are bullpups that I really like a lot. The AUG A1 and the flat top FAMAS, referred to as the FFAR1 in game. It's cool to see both of these added into the game since they shared a lot of the same traits and stats in Black Ops 1. Once again, the FAMAS is set to full auto, while this time the AUG is burst fire, which is a bit odd. I don't ever remember the AUG A1 having any burst fire capabilities, just the dual stage trigger that allows semi-auto fires with half a trigger pull and full auto fire with a full trigger pull. Whatever, it's Call of Duty. If you're looking for an AUG A1, you have some options. You can get one from JG, APS, or from ASG. Or you can go for the best of the bunch and get a gas blowback model from GHK. That's what I went with, but it's not cheap to go this route. The electric AUGs aren't very reliable though, so I say I made a good investment in the long run. To get a matching FAMAS? Sadly, that's not really doable, since Cybergun is the only one that ever made any prototypes of this model. You have to get the original carry handle model or nothing. That's all that's available right now. But at least Cybergun has a high-end FAMAS now available with the original Tokamori out there if you look around. I'd say, realistically, you should be going for the MOSFET equipped Cybergun model. The quality is surprisingly good, but as soon as this drops, you can bet I'll be buying one. Next up, we have the tactical rifles, and we have the M16, the Type 63, which in the real world is called the Type 83. It's a Chinese clone of the Russian SKS rifle, basically, and the DMR-14, aka the Designated Marksman's Rifle 14, aka the M14. That's basically what it is. Regarding the SKS, if you really wanted the real rifle, that's not really a problem since they're everywhere in the firearms community. However, in airsoft form, you have nothing short of a one-off custom to drool over until one day an airsoft manufacturer steps up to the plate. You'll have much better luck getting the M16A2 if you know where to look. Classic Army and GMP put their variants out on the market, but that was years ago. You might be able to find one on the web if you look around, but you'd be better off building one out of an A1 if you don't care about being the most realistic. The M16/M4 platform is everywhere in airsoft, so it wouldn't be too hard if you really tried. Then finally for this segment, the DMR-14, which I'll just call the M14 for now on, is available almost everywhere. You can get one cheap or expensive. SEMA offers just about every variant. Tokamori and WE Tech have their M14s, and GMP and G&G are out there, just to name a few. And these are all of my M14s, all of them of which are just G&Gs. And personally, I like this one the most. It's a walnut stocked M14 veteran. I don't know, it's just that full length barrel and that wood stock. It just looks really nice to me. Even for a beginner, the M14 isn't too bad as a first choice. Battery space is usually large, mags are common, and you tend to get some good range out of an M14 barrel. So if you really like the M14, then look around on an airsoft website. You'll find something you'll like. And maybe one day, you'll end up with just as many M14s as I do. Or maybe even more. Time for the spammable guns. We have the beautiful Stoner 63, which is one of my personal favorite guns in the real world, the RPD, the M60, and then the Gallo SA12 and the Hauer 77, which are obviously the Franke Spaz 12 and the Ithaca 37 trench gun. All of these, except for the Hauer 77, has a replica available. If you want a Stoner 63, then say hello to the GMP Stoner, which is one of the best made LMGs in airsoft, period. You'll pay some good money for that quality though, just like if you wanted an RPD. Because LCT, one of the best airsoft companies in regards to externals, is the only company who provides a faithful RPD replica. Which means price tags like this. That's a lot of cash. The M60 on the other hand isn't too hard to acquire, but they are pretty special when they make it out to a field. The M60 is kind of slept on in the airsoft world, probably for how big the pig is, even the smaller variants are kinda girthy. But if you like one as much as I'd want one, then look into the A&K M60. Or you could go and hunt down a $1,700 LCT M60, but that's some serious money hardly anyone is willing to pay. It might be the closest thing you'll get to a real M60, apart from the actual thing, but I think getting an A&K for about a fifth of that price is worth it. The mags are enormous and easy to load up, and everyone will recognize you since you're bringing out one of the most famous guns in the world for a couple skirmishes. Moving on, the SPAS isn't too hard to find, but no one has a full metal option on the market, and if you want to stock on your SPAS 12, then again, expect to spend some real big money, even though the shotgun itself is entirely plastic. I have a full review on this beautiful shotgun if you'd like to learn more about it, by the way. But no matter the game or the movie, the SPAS 12 is just beautiful. I just wish it was a little bit stronger to match up with the power that the original Black Ops 1 semi-auto shotgun had. But for now, the SPAS 12, for the most part, is a two-shot, annoying shotgun to go against. The last two primaries are, lucky enough, the two most popular sniper rifles in the real firearms world and in Airsoft. The Pelington 703 being the Remington M700, and the LW3 Tundra actually being one of the most famous Black Ops 1 sniper rifles, the L96 or Arctic Warfare Rifle. These two rifles are the most available, most modified, and most reputable platforms for airsoft sniping thanks to the countless manufacturers that they host. From Tokamuri, JG, Well, and even some of the classic brands like Tanaka, the M700, better known as the VSR-10 or BAR-10, and the L96 Arctic Warfare Rifle can be had cheap, from the rifles to their magazines. Sniping isn't the place for beginners, but when you get the experience and the patience, you can't go wrong with either of these rifles. Even I have one now, thanks to Novrich. I think the most noob-friendly sniper that we can pick from here would be the M82, better known as the M82 Barrett. If you ever played Modern Warfare 2, then you remember this thing. It's not really a sniper rifle in the real world since it's meant to crack engine blocks, but it's still a monster of a rifle that sits in a lot of people's hearts. And if this is true for you, then you've got some options. The SOCOM gear is the most expensive of all of them and the most well built, while the Snow Wolf model is the cheaper and more competitive option. You wouldn't be alone if you bought one, or even if you decided to build it up into a really long-range beast. Almost everything has been done to the Snow Wolf Barretts, and there's videos all over YouTube to guide you along teching on yours. So if you want a user-friendly Barrett, then get a Snow Wolf, unless you really need an all-steel, true-to-scale M82. Then look no further than the SOCOM Gear Barrett. You can even get one that's shell ejecting. But for the umpteenth time, expect to spend some serious money if you decide to go that route. With the Sigma 2 not being feasible in a game where we don't plan to shoot down real aircraft, and the RPG-7 being more of a novelty provided by very few companies, we've come to the end of this video. You can kinda get a war machine, but not like in the game, since in the real world, this is probably the Manville gas gun and not a grenade launcher. Go see Forgotten Weapons video on it if you want to learn more about it. The Milcor M32 would be a better fit for this spot, but I don't think those were around in the 80s. At least ICS makes a replica that's widely available. Oh, and the M79 is not the China Lake. I've heard that in a couple other Call of Duty channels videos, but it's not. It's the same launcher from Modern Warfare 2, the M79 Thumper or Blooper. If you want one of these, then look no further than the King Arms model. It's simple like the real thing, but I'd be lying if I said it isn't beautiful. Man, I really need to get one of these. Moving forward, I might put together more of these types of videos as more Call of Duties get released. Or maybe if another Battlefield drops. But I would like to ask you guys if you all would want to see that. Just let me know in the comments if that interests you. This was of course written up while the alpha and the beta were making their rounds, and I finished up the script after the game was fully released, just to cover every additional gun that was added. But you won't see any of the DLC guns that may or may not be added to the game already. Things like the DSHK or DSHK that's not available as an Airsoft replica yet, or some other minor guns might not have made it into this video, but if there's anything that I missed, then please let me know in the comments and I'll try to help you out. I keep an eye on the comments so I can answer all sorts of different questions. By the way, I know it's Call of Duty and that every weapon in the real world could put you down in a single shot, but the M82 and the DSHK mounted gun would be pretty traumatic if you took a shot from either of those. So seeing someone sponge a couple rounds from the mounted gun is pretty strange to think about. But whatever, go ahead and hit the like button if you really like this video and if you would like to see more types of videos like this one. Oh, and tell me what you would like to see added to the game, because I'd like to see a PSG-1, the WA-2000, or the Galil, you know, added as DLC weapons later on. Particularly, I'd hope to see the PSG-1 and WA-2000 not suck. But with that said, I'd like to thank Marley13 and Fortunate for helping me with this video, even if slightly. I'd also like to thank all the USAirsoft channel members who directly support the channel by simply being channel members, like Western Gilbert, Aiden Dewell, Kiwi Spartan, and even Tristan. But until that next video drops from the city of San Antonio, this has been Scott Hollenbeck, and I will be sure to see you all next time.